Quantum Life community. I'm getting my groups confused. Happy Monday. I know it's the day before a holiday and everybody's energy is like in vacation mode a little bit, but I wanted to do an energy update for you guys before I jump over into Quantum Life TICA and do their question and answer. It's a big day in our question and answer over there because we are discussing fear. And everybody was there to post kind of like their greatest fears, and I was going to channel their specific timeline on what that fear's purpose is and how to guide them through that part of fear within them. And that's really what I wanted to jump online this morning. I wasn't planning on doing an energy update, but I will tell you this weekend I have been doing a ton of processing. And any new students that are over in, hey everybody. Everybody over in the new Quantum Life TICA group, which is kind of even more accelerated. I've decided to put my Thursday night TICA work into that group. It was just a faster acceleration for you guys. And I wanted to do this update because the next 5 months, if you guys are watching the astrology, you know that Chiron is going direct for 5 months, and I didn't even know that. My guides didn't tell me that. I actually was sitting there going, what the heck is going on? And me and my girlfriend sat down. We were like, let's check the charts. And we kind of opened it up, and we were reading it, and we're like, ugh, you know. So I decided to sit with my guides this morning and kind of go through what that means. Chiron is obviously here to bring up all of the emotional energy of the past that's stored anywhere biologically or spiritually that you are in resistance of or keeping from yourself, because obviously we're in the fast track of the ascension and we're here to purify ourselves. And so if you guys have been following my TICA work, you know that last week I did something a little bit different than I've ever done in TICA. I'm a teacher that believes in teaching you how to walk, not walking for you. And, you know, because my guidance don't do anything for me. My ability to channel does not give me a golden ticket. I still walk through every fire. I still battle my own ego in relationships. I still question my own guidance. Just because I channel does not mean that I have, you know, a fast tracked. What it means is it's a little bit more difficult because I have access to really simplistic, clear energy and information that is sometimes hard to integrate into a third dimensional reality. And so it's very challenging to do this work and to stay as a student of this work and not just move into a role of a teacher. And I think we've all done that. You know, we as teachers, we learn something new and our first intention is to give it away instead of sitting in it, simmering in it, letting it percolate, asking us what it means for us and our patterns and circumstances, because it feels so good to gift it out immediately. And, oh, I got a transmission, let me give it to the world. And I've noticed, especially this year, my guides are going, nope, first you're going to live it, you're going to attract it, you're going to manifest it, you're going to roll around in it, and then we're going to give you part 2, and then we're going to give you part 3. So I'm like teaching, learning, and it's hard, you know, and that's why it's so important for me to show up for you guys, because it's this byproduct of, okay, let me gift you this awesome information, but then let me put real humanity into it so that it's not just like we can move away from having this head full of knowledge and we can move into the humble factors of now it's time to apply the knowledge that we've learned as awakened souls, which means that we're here now to apply what we're remembering. And this weekend it was a whole bunch of circumstantial evidence of even deeper patterns running. And you know, I have been saying this over and over in my head since January. It's not about circumstances. It's the circumstances are a reflection of the ongoing patterns. So when we look at circumstances and we're going, this just doesn't make sense. Why does this keep happening? We're looking in the wrong place. When we manifest a circumstance, which means anything that actually takes form and becomes reality, is very densified, which means there's a lot of energy, agreement, or resistance behind whatever has become. And so our job is to find where the resistance is or where the agreement is and where the pattern is, and look at circumstances as a map of where that we need to pull the plug on a pattern that's still running, or where do we need to delete a pattern. And that's why I've been doing so much pattern work in TICA. And if you guys are not over in that subscription group, I would highly recommend it, because we're getting new downloads every day. We're getting new modalities every day. And I don't mean spiritual modalities. I mean modalities that will help you get from where you are to where you choose to be by pulling anchors of misinformation, of untruths, of secrets you've had from yourself, of density that's clogging your vibrational escrow and keeping you from your divine gifts, and keeping you from your own heaven. And that's why I'm really, really moving down deep into this pattern work, and I'm doing it all on myself in real time. And it's the hardest thing that I've ever done since my first awakening, because, you know, the first awakening is all about the mind. It's all about remembering that we are unity consciousness, that we are all connected, that we begin to understand who we are. That's the first awakening. And the second awakening is live in that unity, to be heart center connected to unity. And that's where we all are right now. And we're pushing up against the walls. We're pushing up against fear. We're pushing up against all of these walls that we've put to protect our hearts from the world, because as empaths we feel so deeply. And the second phase is of the integration part of awakening is to awaken the heart space. And that's where we're all hitting those walls right now. And that's why I wanted to do this energy update and let you guys know that for the next 5 months, the energy is going to be all about manifesting circumstantial evidence of where you've shut your heart down, or where you need to open your heart. And I'm going to do a podcast later this afternoon called The Way to Self-Love is Self-Respect. Because when you try to identify with self-love, there's so many nuances and so many roadblocks in understanding what self-love is, especially if we've resonated with love through pain. So it's really important that we understand that at the basis of self-love, we've got a really solid understanding of what our self-respecting boundaries are and how to create those. So I'm going to do a podcast that kind of brings us into the back door of self-love so that we can move a little bit quicker on our journeys. And so look for that later on this afternoon or tomorrow. As soon as I get it produced, then I've got to get it to editing. So that's pretty fast over here. And I'm also going to do the question and answer over in Quantum Life TICA, and that is, what is your greatest fear? And I'll be channeling direct timeline information, which means I'm not going to do a general. I only have about 15 questions, so each person's going to get their own reading. And if you're not over in that group, I highly recommend getting over that, because it will definitely fast track your ability to clear a lot of blocks. It's working for me, and I'm having to go through it just like everybody else. But basically, over the next 5 months, the wounding that we've been suppressing is coming to the surface through our own self-aware, higher selves manifestation. So it's almost like when your cat brings you a mouse and like, ta-da, I love you, here you go. That's pretty much what we're going to be manifesting over the next 5 months, so that we can really see where we've closed down our hearts, where we've seen that it hasn't been safe for us to love ourselves. We can see our patterns running as clear as day. And I last week did something interesting. I never do. Like I said, I usually am all about teaching people how to walk, but I did a guided healing with, I did it the night before with my guidance team, and then the next day kind of like had it all written out in like bulletproof points and delivered it to class, and hopefully you guys got what you needed in that moment. And I got a new heart-based meditation for Thursday night, so that will be live Thursday night. So what you guys are looking at right now is, the ones who are going to remain in the free group, is I'll give you the general summary of what you're looking at in the next 30 days. You're going to have to find a new relationship with your pain. Your job is to find a new relationship in your suppressed ability to love, which means that you're going to feel more of the emptiness, because the things that you normally use to cover up the emptiness are no longer satisfying you, because you're becoming more aware. The tactics and the communication solvents that you've used in the past to to numb a crack in a relationship are no longer going to work, which means that by default of more light becoming on the planet, we are going to feel more of our emptiness. We're going to feel more of our loneliness. We're going to feel more of our fear. And if we don't feel our fear, our higher selves will manifest things for us to feel the fear. Like my guides told me the other morning, and because I was like, gosh, this is getting worse. And she just whispered, and she said, this is not getting worse, it's getting louder. And it's almost like when you're speaking to a child and they're not hearing you, your voice has to get louder. And so what your higher self is doing is getting your attention in the way that it is going to stop you from moving in the direction of where you normally go and look at things differently. You know, in Course in Miracles, they talk about what the definition of a miracle is. And the definition of a miracle is a change in perspective. So looking at everything differently. And our job, literally, if we're here to have a heart-opening awakening, then what would the things that we would have to fall in love with that we are in total resistance of? Who are the people that you're going to have to fall in love with? And I don't mean your old definition, your old 3D definition of giving yourself away. Because again, there's a lot of self-respect in loving something. To me, loving is acceptance, it's understanding the purpose of, it's welcoming, it's nurturing. So heart energy is all very divine feminine. Our first awakening took place in the masculine. It was like, I know, I am who I am, I'm abundant, I'm connected, I'm God. And that's a very masculine understanding of spirituality. And now we're moving down into this very nurturing, very motherly approach to our lives, which means, how would a mother love a bully? How would a mother love a unbehaved child? How would a mother love a disabled child, or a child that didn't look like everyone else? Because here's the thing, you have all these aspects about you. I mean, we call it our darkness, but there's all these buried aspects of you that we suppress instead of bringing to the surface and nurture. And so what we're having to do right now is learn to nurture our pain, nurture our abandonness, nurture our fear. Like, what would that feel like to be able to sit with your fear and nurture it like a child, instead of constantly going, I don't want to feel this fear, somebody please help me, and move into the codependency place that we normally go into a pattern and say, someone needs to make me feel better, or I need something outside of me to make me feel better, or I need some money to fix this fear or something, instead of just saying, okay, it's come up again. So it's literally like a tantruming child, and this time I'm going to put it in my lap and I'm going to listen. You know, like I gave Amber some advice. She's going through what we're all going through, and we were sitting on the couch this morning, and, you know, I asked her like what her relationship was with her pain, and what her relationship was with her loneliness, and she was not quite getting it. And I said, well, what about if you imagined it was like one of those movies where you're sitting at a dinner table with all of those aspects, you know, my pain, my loneliness, my abandonedness, my insecurity, my judgment towards myself, my self-hate and hatred, my lack issues, my victim, and I'm literally at a dinner table, and my job is just to get to know everybody, and that really like made her go, oh, I could do that. So again, remembering that the way that you talk to the places inside of you that you've buried is through open-ended questions, just like you talk to spirit. You talk to spirit through open-ended questions. What would that feel like? What would that look like? What would that sound like? What's the personality of my fear? What's the personality of my resentment? You know, and get to know these places, because what's happening is people are not showing up for us. The people are not showing up for us. And the reason why is because we're here to save ourselves. We're on the front line of the ascension, which means that our heart chakras and our heart energy has to integrate if we're going to lead. Which means that even other light workers who used to be able to make us feel better in a session, it's kind of like, that's not really what I need. And what I need to do is I need to just sit at a dinner table with my fear. I need to sit and rock like a child this feeling of victim within me, and be with it energetically until I find some way to nurture it. And that's the thing is you're going to be nurturing your density, which, I mean, if you really look at ego, and this is what I'm talking about, and if you've followed any of my TICA work, you know that ego hides its whole personality, is designed and constructed through two personalities, perpetrator or victim. That's how it expresses itself, right? I'm either going to perpetrate or I'm going to victimize myself. And it's only held together by lower dense emotion. So fear, judgment, resentment, guilt, shame, humiliation, grief. The ego doesn't exist without those emotions, because what the ego actually is the densest, darkest, lostest places of your soul, which means it's still you. It's still you. It's like, I love it when Matt Kahn said this. He said, you know, your ego is just like an unevolved, unawakened version of you. It's like a 2-year-old, and you're asking a 2-year-old to do your taxes. It's like the 2-year-old doesn't know how to do your taxes. Your 2-year-old knows how to cry to get your attention. You know, and I love that analogy, because it really is about us getting so upset with ourselves that instead of us sitting down with those unevolved places of ourselves, ego is just the wounded inner child within that hasn't got the memo that we're in an ascension process. So it's holding on to that real immature behavior. You know, it's the immature version of you. It's the one that's saying it's not fair. It's all of that. And when we can really just find those places within us, because what's going to happen right now is your fear is going to manifest, your guilt is going to manifest, your shame is going to manifest, your humiliation is going to manifest, your abandonment issues are going to manifest, because higher self is going, okay, you're here on the front line. You guys are indigos, you're light workers, you're star seeds. You've already awakened the mind. You already get it. You get it, and now it's time to feel it. And I'm going to do everything in my power to break you open until you feel the feelings that you are not allowing yourself to feel. So this energy transmission is all about getting in touch and finding a new relationship. And one way, you know, in quantum understanding is to also take stock of what your relationship is with fear right now. What is your relationship with your abandonment? Like, do you have no relationship with it, or every time it happens you get really mad at it and why is this happening again? Or every time you get fear you run away from it. And so what is your relationship with fear? What is your relationship with abandonment? What is your relationship with love right now? You know, who has broken your heart? Like, what is your relationship with those three things? And then as you get to understanding, that can move you into acceptance, and then you can sit with that and go, fear, I'm not going to run away from you anymore. I'm going to listen to what you have to say. And I'm going to hear you out, and then I'm going to nurture your ignorance in the best way that I can as an all-knowing being. And then move through some of that. And I have a heart meditation that we're going to be doing on Thursday night in TICA, live in Quantum Life, that will help you establish these new relationships with those three really big players that are being manifested in your lap right now. I promise most of you either are facing abandonment issues, your fear issues, like old fear, not having enough, survival issues, or you know, not being seen and heard and understand, not feeling safe. Like, this is what's coming up big for us right now, and none of our old quick fixes are satisfying it, because higher self is just dumping a new manifestation right when we clog that one hole, another hole happens. It's like, you know, instead of repairing the roof, we're just patching it up, and then the rain is just coming harder. And that's how it's going to be to help us grow over the next 5 months. You know, right now we're in Cancer, which gave us like this big boost of, here's your emotional body, let's all look at it and let's swim in it, and it's like, you know. So as I'm working through it, I will guide you guys through it, and you know, whatever I get directly, I'm going to integrate, and I'm going to practice, and I'm going to show up for you with my story, and hopefully my story will help you. And it's happening to me big time. And what I've done is this morning, as I sat literally in my bed with my headphones, and I was like, okay, fear, we're gonna get to know each other. Like, who are you? And like, what do you like to do for fun? Like it was like going on a blind date with the fear that I've been suppressing since I was 2 years old. And making it fun instead of making it like this really scary, daunting thing. And I could feel it in my body. I could feel where I've stored it. I could feel where it was outside of me. I can feel where it's manifested in my home. I can feel where it's manifested in my friendships. And it's almost like fear is like, I'm here to get your attention, and if you don't give me the attention that I desire, just like a child, I'm going to become an entitled, narcissistic child. And that's what your fear has become. It's become a narcissist. Your abandonment has become a narcissist. And what is a narcissist? A narcissist is someone who believes that they are on the planet for themselves. They feel like everything around them is about them, that is only happening to them. And why is this happening to me? And why is the world not being in service to me? And it is, narcissism comes from a deep, 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 painful feeling of unworthiness and not being enough. So it's projection. So at first it starts as a victim, and then it moves into a perpetrator energy. So anytime you're seeing people who are narcissistic on the outside, what they're doing is they're feeling complete abandonment of self on the inside, and they don't know how to care for themselves, so they bully everyone into taking care of them. And this happens a lot in spiritual parenting, because as empaths, we feel the pain of the world, so we don't want our children to feel any pain, so we over-nurture them, and we turn them into little narcissists. We turn them into the world being at their beck and call instead of being in a flow of the world. And so our own fear has created these narcissists. And then what are we attracted to, empaths? We're attracted to the narcissist because it's the very thing that we're resisting about ourselves. So I'll leave you guys with that. I'm going to jump over to Quantum Life TICA, and I'm going to do the channeled Q&A. Got my questions here from the people over there that have put the questions in. And otherwise, I will see you guys on Thursday night live for TICA.